Chris here in Kansas City on another hybrid demo build day. I got a haircut, so hopefully I look a little more presentable thanks to Ryan at Roots and Branches. I definitely recommend that salon. Anyway, I want to show you something here quickly. Oh, a bunny. These bunnies are everywhere. I don't know if you can see them right there. There's an event going on in Kansas City the first weekend in June, I believe. It has to do with murals around the city. So as part of that, Square One Studios allowed them to paint their wall. And you can't see it right now, but on the other side of the container along the fence, they already did a mural, if you will, and looks really excellent. And here, continuation of that. It's kind of outlined, but they're gonna put I don't know, looks like an eagle there. And I guess these guys are the Goo Kids, as it reads. There's a little rabbit. Anyway, all right, so on to the project. Okay, so this is a wheel well. It's pretty rusted, and it's interesting because this is the part that's pinched between the wall and the wheel well, and it's about that thick, and that's the only place there's any rust on here. So that's clearly, right along the outside edge. So that shows you that water, sat here. And then, on the inside, no rust whatsoever, because it would dry quickly. It wouldn't just, stay moist and in a dark, solid, concealed spot. So I've got my oscillating tool to kind of sand that down a little bit. I don't want to do too much and destroy the wheel well, but I already sanded some rust off sandpaper, but I want to get a little more aggressive on this edge. And then I'm going to take it home and put black Rust-Oleum all over it, and then I'm going to undercoat it on the inside with like a rubberizer and a little brush, roll brush or whatever. So that's, and you might ask, why am I there already? Why, you've seen the inside of this thing and it's far from that. Well, I'll show you in a quick second, but here's some of the underbelly I cut out. And interesting, I don't know if I talked to you or debated about, is this the original color? And the reason I thought it might not be is here along the frame you see blue and white, and then it stops. And then you see this again on the other side briefly over here. And in the Roadrunner pattern, it has like this, on some of the ones you see, it kind of comes to a point, and that kind of looks like that's what's happening here. But in the underbelly, cutting it apart, and there was too many pieces here. Hopefully I can scrap this and get a little money, but probably not. These excellent seams where they crimped them together. I won't be able to do that again, but there's a place here in Kansas City called Air Parts that sells things for Airstreams and aircraft in general, high-grade aluminum, and it's going to cost me maybe around $200 to replace the whole underbelly of this thing. So I'm just going to do that. It won't be crimped as nice as this, but in the process of taking it apart, back to the color discussion, I noticed this teal. And there is no way, or winter green, there is no way this was done later. That is deep in there, so that convinces me that that is the original color. So anyway, very good. I don't know why they would paint it in the seam like that. All right, so I got some of the underbelly out. Matt suggested knock that out so people don't actually step there and think it's safe. And all right, so you can see here why I'm talking about it's a hybrid and the build has started. I moved everything over there. Nothing's fastened down, but I have the floor in, the subfloor, and working this way. So as you saw the last time lapse, I ripped out that whole section and exposed the wheel wells and over there the wheel. And it all began with the need, see if I can pivot here. It all began with the need to want to reinforce the wall down here, but I had to build this over the wheel well. And then to build it over the wheel well, I had to do this. So that's not how it's going to end up in the end, but it's kind of a temporary how it's connected down to this piece. But anyway, so everything influences everything else, like I've said before. So I built up over the wheel well and put this piece in and have a little block of 2x4 as an example. If you can see that. Anyway, that I'm gonna run along. So I've got this nice little box built up over here, and it's got really just very tight clearance, which I wanted. I'm gonna turn this into a box for shoes and such. People can sit on it, lift it, put some shoes in there, maybe store some dirty shoes right along the edge, which I'll show you. And yeah, and then I've spaced this out here accordingly, put these blocks in, and you know, I've got a lot of these little 90-degree angles that I'm going to put in all along the under the subfloor on these joists. So one thing I debated, and I want to talk about briefly, is those angles I showed you. There's different forces that they can withstand. So I was like going back and forth on what, this is probably going to fall when I do this, on what angles to put in. Here we go. Very good. On this box. So, because you know, it's kind of like the example or the, you know, the adage or adage, whatever it is about like, or the saying that, you know, chain is as strong as the weakest link. Well, you know, I'm not a structural engineer or civil, but in fact, it's similar here in the fact that, you know, where's the failure points? It's going to be the weakest connectors, the weakest angle. And my buddy Brad was saying, you know, yeah, like the screws themselves, they're not structural. They're just holding it together. So as an example, if you were to put a screw here and there, that's not like, yes, it's a fastener to keep together, but the structural integrity has to do with the weight of this down on that. So here is a gusseted angle, and it sticks out a little bit, and that this is, I forget the things, but this is from Simpson. I think it's Simpson. Yeah, Simpson Strong Ties. A little shout out to them. They show you on their website, you know, how much force can it withstand from one direction versus the other. And so I debated between this gusset angle, the little 90L. There's a bigger one I have. Let's see if I can show you that. And yeah, here we go. Here's a little gusseted angle. That's one. Then you got this guy, and then I've got the one that I have on there right now, which is got more place for fasteners. Is this guy? So it's this one, but bigger. So in order, this is the weakest from lateral different directions. Then there's this one. Then there's this one. So I use this under here, and this, the strongest one. I mean, at a lateral. So this is like, so if the connector, I'll give an example. I put that one over here. So lateral would be this direction. So laterally that can withstand, I don't know, 300 some pounds. And then this direction, it's more like, and that's lateral too. I mean, this is axial, which they don't have for this. It's not an influence, but if you think about that fastener, try and push it over, it's this direction and this direction, and that's either this or that direction or this or that direction, where it has a force that it's capable of withstanding. So it's the strongest this way. So if you're driving down the road, this is in fact going to help kind of stabilize the wall. It's one of many pieces, but that alone can withstand 500 pounds this way. That's impressive. 300 or so this way to keep the wall from going over. Side winds. I mean, if you were to do some wind calculations, and I plan on just playing with some numbers, it can be pretty significant. Just moving this insulation and getting, it's like a sail, the wind pushing it over. So anyway, so you've got that. That's stronger than this. And then that is the weakest. So, and that can only do like under 200 pounds, I think. And so that would be the weakest link. However, you know, I may do another one of these over here if I can fit it under the subfloor nicely. Otherwise, you know, while that's the weakest link, there is other aspects. So if it starts to fail, it'll support it. I came up with an example. It's like the wheel well behind me. So if the wind comes from my back, pushes on this wall, this support and the one behind me are going to both help stabilize the wall. It's not just this one. So they work in unison that way if the force is kind of working on both of them. If it were somehow, and then similarly this direction from the front of the trailer, the force is pushing this way. You've got this and that making it stronger to withstand it. So I mean, maybe I'm way off, but everything I understand from schooling and just playing with this right here is, you know, I'm not going to get out my statics and dynamics and start running all the numbers, but because it would take a while to get back up to speed. I'm confident this is strong enough. So enough about that. Again, comments if you think I should do something a little differently, but hopefully by then I'm, you know, further along. But I can always go back. This here, okay, so these were originally, this was the original piece here, you know, a 2x2. So I didn't want to put a 2x2 in there because I want to I have a lot of 2x4 scraps and stuff and pieces I want to use. And this was here, and then these 2x4s were shorter and not as far over the lip here of the trailer. So instead I said, you know what, let's make it stronger. Let's take it as far over as we can, and then put these pieces in between. So I will use these little, where are they? Where to go? I don't know. I'll use one of these 90s here all along it, and then the subfloor is going to go on. So that'll be nice and strong. This piece keeps falling out. Yeah, and that's it. So good progress. You can see now that I just cut all this underbelly out because I figured it's easier to work on the brakes and, you know, kind of finish off, polish the trailer down and everything. So I just, you know, took that out. So anyway, so yeah, that's it. I'm taking the wheel wells home to do those up, and you know, by the end of Memorial Day weekend, I will hopefully celebrate and have all this floor and insulation and plywood in, and I won't have the new underbelly in yet, but it'll just be kind of there, not fastened down, and I will have both walls and the stud member in on the plate, on the upper plate on both sides. Well, actually just this side, and we'll see. I mean, I've been behind every time on where I wanted to be, so I don't want to kid myself, but this is definitely great progress in my mind. And oh yeah, and then look at this. This is just a pile of rust that has come out of the furnace. So if you saw the time lapse on pulling out this furnace, this was the issue. It was just bolted in along the back wall, on the outside wall, so I just unscrewed those and bent them in, and it pulled right out. And one reason, the beauty of YouTube and the internet, I watched someone else online looked at this furnace model, Duotherm, and when I saw it was like this, at least this part was out, I said, oh, that's exactly what the issue is. I originally thought this would separate down there, but it was just kind of rusted. And then you see over there, that's where it pulled out of. So yeah, that part stays there, but this went all the way through and bolted. Okay, all right, I'm done for the day. All right, signing off.